This is Anthony Douglas in my Module 5, Understanding Wichita North High School. Wichita North High School has quite a few customs and traditions. It's very family-oriented. There's a high Latino culture and immigrant cultures in the school. It's basically a family-first atmosphere where there's a lot of blue-collar individuals. Most of it's 70% Latino, 17% white, 7% African American, and 6% other ethnicities. 43% of the students at Wichita North are ELL students, where 78% of those total, the 2,117 students, are economically disadvantaged. This brings an interesting dynamics to the culture, but also to all the students within the school. Most of the students come in are on special transfer who aren't in the neighborhood due to the fact that their family went there or they're part of the ELL program. One of the challenges we'll have this next year is introducing a new curriculum in the English Language Arts department as well as math. The population characteristics of Wichita North, it's 9 through 12. There's Spanish, English, Chinese, and other African American dialects and African dialects in the school. 43% of all the students are ELL. As of last week, there's 2,117 students enrolled between the ages of 14 and 19 years old. Male and female population is just about 50%. Most of the occupations represented in the school are blue collar, where less than 1% have a white collar family. As far as nationalities and creed go, again, it's highly Latino, African American, white, and with that brings some local gangs and multicultural gangs as well. Wichita North High School is located in Wichita, Kansas, in a city where the population is around 591,000 people. The school district and the school itself do a really good job using different varieties of communication channels, such as social media with Facebook and Twitter, emails, robocalls, local billboards, Wichita television station, and the Wichita Eagle, which is the Wichita newspaper. They're starting to do a better job as well as sending out bilingual and multilingual information due to the fact with the high population of ELL students. They're starting to hire more bilingual administration staff, administration assistants, ELL staff who are certified, as well as ELL staff as a whole. Most of the information is always sent out in at least 2 languages, and depending on the class that one's teaching, it may be sent out in an additional one as well. The school does a great job and is doing a better job using social media as a way to communicate to families, to students, and to staff, and trying to get immediate information out, as well as to recognize special events and other opportunities that students have to participate in school. There's several community events and community groups that take place at Wichita North. Wichita North is a national demonstration school for AVID, and AVID is trying to help those students who need help in school organization, learning with a different variety of ways, using Wicker strategies. So we have that. Of course, Student Council, National Honor Society, Hispanic American Latino Organization, athletics, a biomedical program where students apply to get in the 8th grade and are accepted and carry through their senior year, LBGT groups, and Gear Up that is sponsored through Wichita State University. Within the staff, there's multiple groups, building committees, literacy team, restorative practices, professional learning, and obviously department leaders. All those groups, along with the students groups, work together to make sure that the groups function together and that the school stays functioning and organized. The adult groups within that are connected to the school within the city of Wichita Obviously, there's civic groups, there's different church organizations, Koch, Young Entrepreneurs. It's a demonstration school for that program as well. And the Koch Foundation is connected through literacy as well as uh, the Young Entrepreneurs program. Leadership wise, it's really the staff leadership. The staff drives everything. The staff leads the PL, the staff leads the professional development. It's really staff centered. There's school leadership with our principal and assistant principals, caseworkers, and SRO, athletic director, Board of Education security are all considered school leadership. At the district level, we have our superintendent, assistant superintendents, deputy superintendents, and coordinators. And it all kind of staggers down, and you'll see that here in a minute in a graph. There's a strategic team put together at each level, at the elementary level, secondary level, and the district level, and they meet together with district leaders, and there's also strategic teams placed in each high school. The Board of Education leadership is made up of community leaders voted in by citizens of Wichita in different precincts in different areas of the city, and they represent those cities to figure out what's best for that area, what's best for the school, and obviously what's best for the district. The United Teachers of Wichita is a paid teachers union that teachers may pay into. It's not mandatory, it's not mandated, it's encouraged. Not all teachers are part of it, but the United Teachers of Wichita is the group in the union that goes to the Board of Education negotiations team, and negotiates the contracts every year, negotiates salary, as well as what can be put in the negotiated agreement. And of course, there's civic leadership. There are some civil leaders that we see in the schools, but really they work directly more with the Board of Education than they do the school itself. There's the leadership of Wichita. Those are civic leaders who are volunteers to help make Wichita a better city and to drive the vision of Wichita. Most of them, majority of them, are Wichitaites or Wichitalians, I guess is the right word. And they have grown up in Wichita, and they're trying to keep Wichita the city that they grew up in, as well as grow it into a place where people want to come back to and stay. The economic conditions of Wichita, I found this to be interesting. We've lived in Wichita for about a year and a half. We're outside Wichita for a year and a half, teaching there now. And you can see the progress, but you can also see some of the regression. And so I found this article interesting in the How Will Wichita Respond to the Wake-Up Call for Its Economy on Kansas.com. I think it's interesting. Obviously, the average income rate is higher, 5.7%, where the United States is 4.6%. But while I thought it was interesting to say, while domestic product for cities grew at 16%, Wichita's dropped a percentage point. Every city in the central United States grew faster, to Wichita grew faster than the national average since 2010, except for Wichita. The labor force grew significantly over the past decade. Wichita shrank. So that's the question that the community and the district and the schools are asking is, how do we connect the school better to the economy and the city, and to make sure that we're providing productive citizens who stay within Wichita and who want to work and give a domestic product from the city. The political structure of the school, this comes from the district website, where at the top you have the Board of Education, the superintendent under that, the different chief operating officers, the deputy superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and then the building principals. There are some social tensions inside Wichita. There's a lot of rival gangs, rival groups, even within their own subcultures. One of the schools, there's a high population of African immigrants from rival gangs. That creates some issues within subcultures. Some of the major gangs in Wichita are the MS-13s, the Bloods, the Crips, VLB, and Serranos, all of which are mixed in the different schools in Wichita, and some of them within the same school, which makes it even more difficult when dealing with them discipline-wise. Although I have noticed, for the most part, it's the older students, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors who do not bring the gang activity into the school, rather the younger students and their parents who bring it into the schools. The cliques, there's kind of a fine line drawn. There's East Siders, West Siders, and a South Side. And really, basically, it's new money, old money, and socially economic poverty. Even though there's social economic poverty within each area, there seems to be a line drawn amongst the groups. There has been, and there are, you can see it, discrimination highly among the Hispanic groups as well as the African American cultures. Some of those causes are because of the economic rivalry and the fact that they're different. Not only do they live different, but they earn less money. Maybe they earn more money. But culturally, they don't do what everybody else thinks is the norm. And so that creates social competition, discrimination, and then religious differences. Some extra information that I had to look up and I was able to find was obviously USD 259's website, where I was able to find some of the information and use it as a resource to find the structure, the power source, power structure, as well as some of the information from the district. The City of Wichita, the U.S. Census, the Department of Labor from the United States government, as well as the KSDE report card, helping figure out what the demographics were of the city and of the school. The power structures within the district seem to be pretty simple. At the top, obviously, you have the superintendent and the deputy superintendent, all of which work together to make sure the assistant superintendents are communicating directly to teachers and directly to the principals and assistant principals at each school. At each school, you have, in particularly the high schools, you have a head principal and then assistant principals, and then the teacher and staff fall under their umbrella as well. Within the schools in the city, there are very many multicultural issues, including language barriers because of the different dialects and languages used within each culture, educational value difference. What are we as a school making sure we're communicating the value of education to each culture, not just one or two in particular? And it varies from school to school depending on where you are in the city and depending on the population. The dress code, depending again, you're going to have gang violence, gang recruitment based off dress code and what they wear. And within that, they tend to have a self-selected segregation and with removing and withdrawal from themselves. The power struggle, I thought this was just a funny cartoon, but it seems to be people think that money equals power, and there's the board of directors with their money. So we have our state and our local government. From the city, it seems like it's a social economic status based on zip code and where you live. And then our community, our board members, and then basically it works its way down or trickles its way down to our administration, to the local teacher. In order to find the measuring public opinion, the school sends out safe and civil surveys to staff, to this community, to students, to parents. There's the annual report card, and obviously you can look and find the city economic status to find out where the city feels and if they're spending money, if they're moving. You can always see the movement within the community to find out what the status is and the opinion is as well. As far as public opinion goes, when I tell people I work in Wichita, USD 259, I can look at their face, I can hear the sound of their voice, and depending on how the conversation goes, I can always read what they think. It's interesting to hear people hear their opinion of what they think the school's like versus what it really is, and then why they think that, and why they always go back to the mid-90s, the early 90s, instead of the last 10 to 15 years where a lot of that gang violence, for the most part, has been cleaned up and things have changed. Understand everything, and I need to be a continued learner in everything I do.